A very good morning, students. Today I am going to explain the problem number 1 in joint venture chapter. So we know that this joint venture business is a temporary partnership business. Once the project or work is completed, this business comes to an end. So because of this reason, in joint venture business, we are not maintaining so many number of accounts. Here we are maintaining only a limited books of accounts, only namely three accounts. One is joint venture account, and one is co-venturers account, and the third one is joint bank account. First I will explain this problem. So it's a problem number 1. So Narendra and Surendra entered into joint venture. So here Mr. Narendra and Mr. Surendra, they are doing joint business and they're sharing profit and losses in the ratio of 3:2. So whatever the profit or loss earned by the business, that should be shared in the ratio of 3:2 between Narendra and Surendra. And next, Narendra contributed rupees 60,000 and Surendra contributed rupees 80,000. So for doing business, we require investment. So here Narendra contributing rupees 60,000 and Surendra contributed 80,000. And the amount contributed by them were deposited into joint bank account. So whatever Narendra and Surendra contributed money, that is 60,000 and 80,000, these money were deposited into joint bank account. And the next transaction, they bought goods for cash rupees 1 lakh. So for doing business, we require materials. So these goods were purchased worth of rupees 1 lakh. And next, and from Narendra, rupees 40,000. Here they purchased goods from Narendra also. That is rupees 40,000. And the next transaction, they paid for carriage rupees 7,000. Carriage nothing but the transportation cost, and rent 2,000, insurance 3,000, other expenses 4,000. So they paid these expenses, and these expenses were paid from joint bank account. So these expenses were paid through joint bank account, that is carriage, rent, insurance and other expenses. And next, the last transaction is all these goods were sold for rupees 1,80,000. And finally, they sold all the goods for rupees 1,80,000. Now open necessary ledger accounts. So here we have to open ledger accounts. Here we are maintaining only 3 ledger account. One is joint venture, one is co-venturers account, and one is joint bank account. So first I will make some points for easy preparation of ledger account. The first point, our first transaction is what? The first transaction is Narendra contributed 60,000 and Surendra contributed 80,000. The first transaction what? Narendra contributed how much? 60,000 and Surendra how much? And Surendra 80,000. And the amount contributed by them were deposited into joint bank account. And these money were deposited into a joint bank account. This is the first transaction. Now come to the second transaction. What's the second transaction? They bought goods for cash rupees 1 lakh. So they purchased goods for cash. So they purchased goods for cash. They purchased goods for cash rupees 1 lakh. So who will pay this 1 lakh rupees? Here there is no clear information whether this 1 lakh rupees is paid by Narendra or Surendra. So in such circumstances, it is assumed that this 1 lakh rupees is paid through joint bank account. This 1 lakh rupees is paid through joint bank account. So it's a expenses, right? This is a expenses. This is a expenses. and this is expenses, and this expenses is paid through joint bank account, because here there is no specific information. Here they said that they bought goods for cash rupees 1 lakh. Here there is no clear information whether this 1 lakh rupees is paid by Narendra or Surendra. That's why this 1 lakh rupees is paid through joint bank account. Come to the next transaction. In third transaction, and also they purchased goods from Narendra. So here in third transaction, okay, Narendra also supplied goods. Here Narendra also supplied goods. So here goods given by Narendra. How much? Rupees 40,000. So this is also expenses. This is also expenses. Who will pay for this expenses? They only said here Narendra will pay rupees 40,000. So this expenses will be paid by Mr. Narendra. Mr. Narendra. Now come to the next transaction. They paid for carriage 7,000, rent 2,000, insurance 3,000, and other expenses 4,000. So the last transaction is what? They paid carriage 7,000, rent 2,000, insurance 3,000, and other expenses 4,000 from joint bank account. So for these expenses, the payment is made through joint bank account. So this is the problem. Now we have to record these transactions in ledger accounts. Once again I will repeat. The first transaction is Narendra contributed 60,000 and Surendra contributed 80,000. The amount contributed were deposited into joint bank account. And the second transaction, they purchased goods for cash rupees 1 lakh. Here there is no clear information that who paid this 1 lakh. So it is assumed that this 1 lakh rupees is paid through joint bank account. And the next transaction, here Narendra also supplied goods worth rupees 40,000. Here these expenses were met by Mr. Narendra. And the last one, they also met the expenses like carriage, rent, insurance, and other expenses. And they only said that these expenditure were paid through joint bank account. So these expenses were paid through joint bank account. Now we have to record these expenses in ledger accounts. So here we have to open 3 ledger account. One is joint venture account, and one is co-venturers account, and one is joint bank account. So the first one, joint venture account. So joint venture account is just like a profit and loss account. In profit and loss account, we are recording income and expenses. So in the same way, in joint venture account also, we are recording expenses and incomes. So we know that debit the expenses and credit the incomes. And the next account is co-venturer account. Here there are 2 co-venturers. One is Narendra and one is Surendra. And the last ledger account is joint bank account. In joint bank account, debit receipt side and credit side payment. Let's start. What's the first transaction? The first transaction, Narendra contributed 60,000 and Surendra contributed 80,000. This amount is deposited into a joint bank account. So now come to joint bank account. In joint bank account, so Narendra contributed 60,000 and Surendra contributed 80,000. And this amount is deposited into joint bank account. Now tell me, this amount will be a receipt for bank or payment for bank? So Narendra and Surendra depositing money means it's a receipt for bank. So record on receipt side. Who are contributing? One is Narendra. To Narendra. How much Narendra contributed? Narendra contributed 60,000. Narendra account. And next Surendra. To Surendra. Surendra contributed how much? Surendra contributed 80,000. 80,000. The first transaction is over. but according to dual concept, dual accounting concept, each transaction has two effects. One is debit, one is credit. Now we have to do cross posting because one aspect is recorded. Now we have to record the another aspect. So here Narendra and Surendra is debited. Narendra and Surendra is debited and another aspect is credit. So here Narendra and Surendra are co-venturers. So in Narendra and Surendra, opposite direction, that is on credit side, we have to record the cross posting. So Narendra is so much 60,000 and Surendra is so much 80,000. So here Narendra and Surendra were recorded in joint bank. So that's why in co-venture account in opposite direction by joint bank account. So I'm repeating once again. So the first transaction is Narendra and Surendra contributed money. So Narendra and Surendra contributed 60,000 and 80,000, that is deposited into joint bank. For joint bank it is a receipt. So receipt side enter to Narendra and to Surendra. This is one aspect is over, one debit aspect is over. Now the another aspect is what? Credit aspect. So in Narendra and Surendra account, come here Narendra and Surendra. Here Narendra and Surendra are debited. Here you have to do credit entry. So enter Narendra 60,000 and Surendra 80,000. Here Narendra and Surendra debited in joint bank account. So enter by joint bank account. So the first transaction is over. Now come to the second transaction. What's the second transaction? They purchased goods for cash. Here they purchased goods for cash. It's a income or expenses. It is a expenses. So where to record these expenses? In joint venture account, because in joint venture account it's just like a profit and loss account. Here we have to record expenses and incomes. So in expenses side record they purchased goods for cash worth rupees 1 lakh. Who paid this 1 lakh? Yet there is no clear information whether this 1 lakh rupees is paid by Narendra or Surendra. In such case, this 1 lakh rupees will be paid by joint bank account. So in expenses side, here you write down to joint bank account. Joint bank account in bracket you can write down goods purchased. Goods purchased. Goods purchased. How much? 1 lakh. So one aspect is over. The debit aspect is over. According to dual accounting concept, each transaction has two aspects. One is debit, one is credit. So here debit aspect is over. Now cross posting. Here joint bank is debited. Now come to the joint bank account. In joint bank account, we have to do the credit entry. So by a joint bank is debited in joint venture account. So in joint bank account, credit side, joint venture account. Once again I'm repeating. They purchased goods for rupees 1 lakh. It's a expenses. The expenses should be recorded in joint venture account. And who paid this 1 lakh rupees? This 1 lakh rupees is paid by joint bank. So debit aspect is recorded. Now come to joint bank account, because here joint bank is debited. So come to joint bank account. In joint bank account, we have to record in opposite direction. Here the joint bank is debited. So in joint bank account, we have to make credit entry, that is opposite entry. So here joint bank is recorded in joint venture account. So use the name joint venture by joint venture. What's the amount? 1 lakh. 1 lakh. So the second entry is over. Now come to the third entry. Also third entry, here goods given by Narendra 40,000. Here Narendra also supplied goods. How much? 40,000. This is also expenses. Where to record expenses? Expenses should be recorded in joint venture account, because joint venture is just like a profit and loss account. Here we have to record income and expenses. So in joint venture account, expenses side, write down to who made these expenses. These expenses were paid by Narendra and not the joint bank. So here Mr. to Narendra account. How much? 40,000. 40,000. So the one aspect is over. The debit aspect is over. Now we have to do cross posting. Now we have to do cross posting, the another entry for the same transaction. So here Narendra is debited. What you have to do? Credit entry. So come to Narendra account. In Narendra account, you have to do credit entry. How much? 40,000. And what name we should give here? By joint venture, because here Narendra account is debited in joint venture account. That's why here we should give joint venture account. So the third transaction is also over. Third transaction is also over. Now come to the fourth transaction. What's the fourth transaction? They paid carriage, they paid rent, they paid insurance, and they paid also other expenses. For these expenses, the payment was made through joint bank account. Who paid these expenses? Joint bank account. So these are the expenses. Where to record these expenses? Expenses should be recorded in joint venture account. Here, joint venture account. Who paid all these expenses? Joint bank. So write down joint bank account. In bracket, you can write carriage, rent, insurance, and other expenses. If you want, you can write. Otherwise, there is no compulsory. How much carriage? 7,000. Carriage 7,000 plus rent 2,000 plus insurance 3,000 plus other expenses. How much? Other expenses 4,000. 4,000. What's the total? 7 plus 2, 9. 9 plus 3, 12. 12 plus 4, 16,000. So 16,000. So one aspect is over. The debit entry is over. Now we have to do cross posting for the same transaction. Here joint bank. Here joint bank is debited. Joint bank is debited. Now in joint bank we have to make credit entry. So come to joint bank. In joint bank you have to make credit entry. What? By what? By a joint bank is debited in joint venture. So here we have to use the word joint venture. Joint venture account. How much? Rupees 16,000. So fourth transaction is over. But there is one more transaction is there. The last transaction. All these goods were sold for rupees 1,80,000. So one more transaction is there. Sales. How much? Rupees 1,80,000. This is expenses or income. Sales. It's a income. If we sold goods, we will get cash. So it's a income. Who will receive this income? Joint bank account. Because there is no information whether this sales amount is received by Narendra or Surendra. So in such case, it should be understood that this money will be received by joint bank account. So joint bank account. Joint bank account. So now record the last transaction. sales. Sales is an income. This income should be recorded in joint venture account. Here income on credit side. By who will receive the money? Joint bank account. Joint bank account. In bracket you can write sales. How much? We are receiving 1,80,000. So the one aspect is over. The credit aspect is over. Now we have to make debit aspect, because every transaction has two aspects. One is debit, one is credit. So the credit aspect is over. Now make debit aspect. Where? In joint bank account. In joint bank account, make debit entry. So to joint venture account. Joint venture account. How much? 1,80,000. Because here a joint bank is credited in joint venture account. That's why here I'm using the word joint venture. Now all the transactions were over. Now all the transactions were over. Now make balance of these accounts one by one. First, make the balance of joint venture account. Usually the credit side is more than debit side, but sometimes the debit side is more than credit side. The first calculate. In this account the credit side is more, so 1 lakh, sorry, here make balance. Here 1,80,000. 1,80,000 in both the side. 1,80,000. What's the balancing figure? In debit side there's a balancing money is 24,000. This 24,000 is considered as profit. So to profit on joint venture. Profit on joint venture. Whether the business earned profit or loss, that should be distributed to co-venturers. In this problem, the co-venturers are Narendra and Surendra. Narendra and Surendra. On what ratio? You have to distribute this profit 3:2. Based on this ratio, divide this profit 3:2. 3:2, nothing but 3 by 5. And for Surendra, 2 by 5. How much? Narendra will get 14,400 and Surendra will get 9,600. So the first joint venture account is over. Joint venture account is over. 9,600. So joint venture account is over. But here we recorded the profit. One aspect, that is debit aspect. Same should be recorded in credit side. So in Narendra and Surendra is debited. So in Narendra and Surendra record credit side. Credit side. How much? Narendra is 14,400 and Surendra is how much? Surendra is 9,600. What is this? Narendra and Surendra. It's a profit portion of Narendra and Surendra. Where? In joint venture. So here write down by joint venture. In bracket, if you want, you can add profit. Joint venture in bracket, you can add profit. So joint venture account is over. Now make balance of this co-venture account. Co-venture account. Here credit side is more. 1,14,400 and here for Surendra 89,600. 1,14,400, 89,600. Now make balance. In debit side there is no entry, so make balance. This is a balancing figure. This is a balancing figure. B bar F is a balancing figure. It's a balancing figure. How much Narendra? 1,14,400 and Surendra 89,600. So this means finally after completing this co-venture, Narendra will get 1,14,400 and Surendra will get 89,600. Who will pay this amount? This amount will be paid by joint bank, because all the transactions, major of the transactions were made through joint bank. That's why the amount should be paid by joint bank. So to joint bank account, this will be considered as balancing figure. So in co-venture account is over, but in co-venture we recorded only debit aspect. The same transfer should be recorded in credit side, where in joint bank account, because we have used joint bank. In joint bank account, credit side, this joint bank is recorded in where? Co-venturers account. Here who are co-venturers? One is Narendra, one is Surendra. So here by Narendra and by Surendra. How much Narendra? Narendra is 1,14,400. Surendra is 89,600. Now make balance of this joint bank account. Make balance of this joint bank account. Make balance of this joint bank account. So here the joint bank will get balance for rupees 3,20,000 in both the side. 3,20,000 in both the side. This is 3,20,000. Here joint bank account balance ಆಗಿದೆ. ಯಾವುದೇ balance figure ಬಂದಿಲ್ಲ. Joint bank account balance ಆಯಿತು ಅಂದ್ರೆ ನೀವು ಮಾಡೋ problem correct. So once again I'm repeating this problem. The first transaction is Narendra and Surendra contributed money to joint bank. So in joint bank it's a receipt. Record here, Narendra contributed 60 and Surendra contributed 80. The same record, the same transaction should be recorded in one more time. That is on credit side, where in Narendra and Surendra account, so 60,000 and 80,000. So the name should be given joint bank, because we have taken this money from joint bank. The second transaction is goods purchased for cash for rupees 1 lakh rupees. For this 1 lakh rupees, the payment is made through joint bank. That's why two joint bank. One aspect is over. So now one more aspect, that is credit aspect. So in joint bank account, credit side, write down joint venture rupees 1 lakh. And the third transaction is purchase goods from Narendra rupees 40,000. This is expenses. Who paid these expenses? Narendra. So to Narendra 40,000. So one more aspect, in Narendra account, credit side 40,000. The name should be by joint venture, because here Narendra is debited in joint venture account. And next they paid carriage, rent, insurance and other expenses. These expenses were made payment through joint bank. So that's why to joint bank 16,000. So one more entry, that is on credit aspect, in joint bank account 16,000. That is joint venture account. And the last transaction is sales. So sales is income. So this income should be received through joint bank account. So by joint bank rupees 1,80,000. So one more entry. So in joint bank account, debit side, in joint bank account, debit side 1,80,000 to joint venture. Now all the transactions were over. Now make balance these accounts by one. First, make balance of joint venture. When you balance this joint venture, you will get a profit of rupees 24,000. This profit should be distributed to Narendra and Surendra according to agreed ratio. Now the joint venture account is over, but you have to record this transaction one more time because the debit aspect is over. Now you have to record the credit aspect. In Narendra and Surendra is debited. So in Narendra and Surendra account, make credit entry. So Narendra 14,400 and Surendra 9,600. The name should be joint venture because the profit earned in where this profit is earned in joint venture account. That's why here by joint venture account. Now make balance of this co-venture account. Make balance of this co-venture account. You will get the balance figure on debit side rupees 1,14,400 and 89,600. So this is the money which were given to Narendra and Surendra. Who will give this money? This money will be given by joint bank. That's why the balance figure to joint bank. So co-venture account is over. But here we have to make one more entry because here you have make only one debit aspect. Here we have recorded only debit aspect. Now record the credit aspect of the same transaction. Here joint bank is debited. Now in joint bank account make credit entry. What? Narendra is 1,14,400 and Surendra 89,600 and record this transaction in opposite direction. Now make balance of this joint bank account. So the joint bank account will get balanced for rupees 3,20,000. For rupees 3,20,000 on both the side, and there is no balancing figure. If this joint bank account is get balanced, then your solution is right. So this is the solution for joint venture problem. This is joint venture account. This is joint venture account. And this is co-venture account. And this is joint bank account. When you are doing a problem, record the debit and credit aspect of each entry simultaneously. ನೀವು ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ನ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಾದ್ರೆ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಎಂಟ್ರಿಯ ಡೆಬಿಟ್ ಮತ್ತು ಕ್ರೆಡಿಟ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸಾಕ್ಷನ್ನ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬನ್ನಿ. ಒಂದು ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಮುಗಿಸಿ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಅಕೌಂಟ್ ಹೋಗ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ ಕನ್ಫ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿಬಿಡುತ್ತೆ. ಒಂದು ಎಂಟ್ರಿ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಿದಾದ್ಮೇಲೆ ಇದೇ ಎಂಟ್ರಿನ ನೀವು ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಕಡೆ ರೆಕಾರ್ಡ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಆ ರೀತಿ ಸೈಮಲ್ಟೇನಿಯಸ್ ಆಗಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಬನ್ನಿ, ಬೇಗ ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಥ್ಯಾಂಕ್ ಯು ಸ್ಟೂಡೆಂಟ್ಸ್.